on now. Okay.
But once again, you know, you really can't predict a reaction. You never know what some people have gone through, what they've experienced before. But I think we'll be going back on Friday, as a matter of fact, to continue with the training. So I think they're a little bit more open now.
Yeah. So
than what they were in the beginning.
Yeah, just so you know, Ruby was describing a situation where she had a totally unpredictable response to a service that she was getting ready to provide. She was meeting with a client. She was describing what she was going to do, and they said, "Oh no!" And so she just got through describing how, you know, it all ended up well. What do you think that you did to kind of allay their fears? I mean, did you find yourself going out of your way to communicate differently when people, you know, thought that they were going to have another negative experience with restorative circles?
In that particular case, we just followed through with, you know, the way that we do circle, the way that we conduct circle. Now, there was another incident
Right.
that was totally unpredictable. We didn't expect to get the type of response that we did. Fahim and I were conducting this circle.
Okay.
It was with a group of youth. And it was an environment that was hostile, disrespectful.
Everybody sound like they got stories. Everybody in the room has stories.
And then I don't feel like we got to the support that we needed from the people who invited us to come to conduct the circle. So I was totally thrown off by again, the entire environment. So, in a situation like that, we could not finish doing what we were there to do. These were young people who were not ready for training. They hadn't been prepared for training. They had just started a program. And I don't think that they were at the level where they were ready for someone from the outside to come and provide a structured training. You know, and I'm not putting them down or anything, but it just wasn't a fit at the time.
Okay.
It wasn't a fit for that group and for what we were bringing. So we did not continue with the training, and we did talk to the director, and we said, you know what, we're not going to continue with this because they're not at a stage to receive what it is that we brought here today. And it's not that we haven't trained other youth as circle keepers, we have, but they were ready though. They were ready, they were poised to engage. This was a group that was not.
Okay. And let me try to pull some other people. Sharon, you laughed. Have you ever had a similar experience where you were working with a group of people who were not quite ready to receive what it is you had to offer? And if so, how did you handle it?
Well, I didn't really laugh. I think I just kind of run.
I mean, when I say laugh, and I don't think you were belittling her.
You know, I thought it was interesting the way Miss Ruby presented it. You know, I've observed her. She's very professional. You know, when you asked her if she had to pivot in that initial situation because of how those two individuals entered the room, she said, no, we just proceeded with the way we normally do it. We didn't change anything. But so the impression I got is that if you know what your program will bring to this situation, and so if you stay on track, if you do what you know you're there to do, then the naysayers, so to speak, will eventually figure out that there's value in what's being presented. You know, a lot of people do enter a situation with preconceived notions, but Miss Ruby knew why she was there. She knew what she was going to present, and she knew that in that particular instance, to stay on course, to stay on course, versus the second situation that she presented, where the atmosphere was such that she knew that at this particular point, we're going to have to stop this and maybe come back to it at a different time. So actually, I wrote down a question. I don't know if I can ask it right now.
Go ahead. That's why we're here. It's a mastermind.
Okay. Well, the question was, and I wasn't, you know, when I heard it, I was like, okay, you said they weren't ready. The second group wasn't ready. You know, how do you, and that segment of the second group, I guess maybe it was the third group, they were ready. They were ready to receive the training. And so how do you know when a group is not ready? Maybe they were being boisterous or negative or whatever the case may be. Maybe that was your indication. But how do you prepare a group? How does a group get prepared? Group one was obviously not prepared, and you had to discontinue the training. But the second group were prepared and were open to the training. So is there some type of preparation that needs to be done before you present your training to the groups?
Yeah, especially if we're talking about training people to conduct circles.
Okay.
So we were invited to train, and we were told this is a group of leaders. We were told these are young people and they're a group of leaders. So we went in thinking, okay, then they're ready to accept this training. They have a mindset and communication skills to be able to, and self-discipline enough to receive this training. Because we've done it with other young people. You know, we've done it at 15th District with the group of young people there. We've done it in collaboration with Elevate Services with Tina's group. You know, and several other young people. We've done it at Marillac House with their group of young employees who help run their After School Matters program. And so we're talking about teens, maybe 14 to 18. Okay, and so sometimes people put all youth in a category together, you know, and they just look at them all the same. But that's not true. You have, and it's just like with adults. You have people who are mature enough to accept something.
To be receptive. Yeah.
Right. You sometimes have people who are not at that level. And for that particular group, they weren't at that level. So just the fact that the person said they're a group of leaders, we went in thinking, okay, then they're ready to receive this training. But instead, they were boisterous.
So let me ask you this. Have you given any thought, or do you think it would make sense to have some sort of assessment tool that you give to every prospective client, you know, anybody that you've never worked with before, and let them answer some questions, and that will help you to determine if they're ready, if they're not ready, or what their level of readiness is. Is that something that you ever do?
I would say that whether it's an assessment tool or just asking some questions.
Okay, that's still assessment, right?
Right. Let's talk about your group. You know, let's talk about the needs, and I try to do that.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, when people are asking us to come in and do circle keeper training, well, this is what it involves. You know, this is what we're going to be doing. I think with that particular case, I think they wanted it for their young people, but I don't think that they had assessed the fact that they weren't ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That these are a group, this is a group, and there were two groups, and even the second time we were told, oh, now these are ready, but it was just as bad as the first time. It was just as bad as the first. They were disrespectful in terms of age. You know, they made comments like, old people don't know how to talk to young people.
Wow. And
my thought was, you know, we're here to train you. You know, we're not here to just shoot the breeze with you. Because I know how to do that. I know how to shoot the breeze with young people. You know, we've been working with young people for years. But this was not that setting where we just shoot the breeze. We're here to provide, to instill, to share a skill with you, because we're thinking that you're ready to conduct a circle with other young people.
Okay, and let's hold it there. Edgar, you haven't had a chance to contribute, and I know you work with Miss Ruby. Did you want to share some of your thoughts before we go and talk about how these assessments might be helpful in the workplace? And when I talk about these assessments, I'm talking about the leadership assessments.
Oh no, I think she covered it well. You know, she has a way of looking at things that she always keeps it leveled and balanced. You know, I like to harass people because I was just at a point where, you know what, I can leave. You know, or I hate when those spaces where it's so disrespectful where it becomes personal. And it's like you're supposed to be a professional at all times, but the level, you know, of disdain and disrespect was such that it was like, you know, you wanted to be like, I'm not your mama or your daddy, right? So I just, you know, I learned a lot in those circumstances about, like what you just said, how you picked out how she communicates things. So it's a learning space for me as well. And then when I went through the assessment, it was some things that I picked up. But I've always been, it's like I know I'm a butthole in certain spaces. So it's like it's easy for me to know where my strengths and weaknesses are because I always stay in self-assessment. So I just appreciate how she looks at it and how, like, she can be hotter than fish grease. And I mean, what that means is extremely angry, but you will never know that. Right.
But so you know her well enough to know.
Absolutely. So those are things that I like to extract from those moments because it was just, I mean, you actually had kids threatening adults. So it was kind of wow, I had never been, you know, in that position, especially when, even if I don't have a relationship with you, I would expect that the people that you work with every day, you know, that there are certain, you know, it's certain things that it doesn't matter who I am. When I represent Taproots has a structure so that if you're out of line, you know, you can line back up. They didn't have that.
Okay, and on that note, I'm gonna stop. Thank you so much for contributing.